Oh, I've had an email about us speaking into microphones and turning microphones up. Yeah, about just being louder. Yeah. I know I get tired and I lean back and get back away from it and they can't hear.
Well, Sean, he already has a copy of it.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Budget Committee meeting. Let's start off first with a prayer. We've got Commissioner Dakota Watts here with us tonight. If everyone would please join us in prayer.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for blessing us so abundantly, so exceedingly above all things that we could ever ask or think. Lord, thank you for letting us come to this meeting tonight, work through the Budget Committee. Lord, bless them, guide them in every decision, every thought, every action they make. Lord, bless us as a county, as a country, as a nation, and we love you. Thank you for Jesus Christ and what he did on that cross for the remission of our sins, and we all say, amen.
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 Thank you, sir. Mr. Martin, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Kyle Goff.
Here.
Denny Wade Robinson.
Here.
TK Austin.
Here.
David Cranford. Derek Hutchings.
Here.
You have 4 present, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We do have a quorum. We'll move on to approval of the minutes from the June 2nd meeting. I entertain a motion to approve.
Make the motion. I'll
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Okay, we have several fiscal year 2025 budget amendments to make in various funds. We start with the general fund. This is a group of 12 amendments that will be going to the full commission for approval. Mr. Markham, if it's okay with you, you can take off down the list and we'll just stop you with questions as we go, if that's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first budget amendment that you see here is budget amendment number 1. It's a budget amendment for the jail medical claims. It's a $90,000 budget amendment to appropriate funds required for hospital doctor treatments outside of the jail and also high-cost medication that is not covered under our contract for inmates. Amendment number 2 is reclassifying funds, reallocating funds from the jail to the Sheriff's Department to cover overtime pay and medical insurance costs that were in excess of the original budget, so just moving money between those 2 major categories there. That's a $102,000 budget amendment. Amendment number 3 is also for the Sheriff's Department. This is a $6,909 budget amendment to appropriate grant funds from the Law Enforcement Hiring, Training, and Recruiting Program for 3 employees. This is a state-funded program for 3 employees meeting certain criteria in the Sheriff's Department. Amendment number 4 is a budget amendment for the Sheriff's Department. It's a $97,000 budget amendment to appropriate funds required for gasoline usage or projected gasoline usage in excess of original budgeted amount. Amendment number 5 is a $20,000 budget amendment to appropriate funds from the Bulletproof Vest Grant Program that's received through the U.S. Department of Justice. This is a program that we participate in regularly. It's a $20,000 amendment for that. Amendment number 6 is a $18,000 budget amendment. This is to appropriate funds required for refunds that have been issued to EMS and building department customers during the fiscal year. So we're increasing those revenue codes and then also the corresponding expenditure codes for refunds. $18,000 there. Amendment number 7 is a $20,000 amendment to appropriate funds in anticipation of the 2025 Q2 autopsy and medical examiner expenses. Not exactly always sure how those are going to come in, so we are appropriating some additional funding there in the event that we have several of those autopsies that we have to pay for before the end of June 30th. Anything that's not used will roll back into fund balance. Amendment number 8 is a $12,000 budget amendments to appropriate donations received for the purchase of books and media at the public library. So it's a $12,000 increase to the donations major category, and then also the library and books and media major category expense. Amendment number 9 is reallocating some funds from salaries around to cover part-time employee cost between two departments there in the Codes and County Executive's Office. Just a reallocation. Amendment number 10 is a budget amendment to increase the funding in 58,900, 510, that's their trustees commission. So that's paid by our fund. It essentially goes back into the fund. It's more of an accounting setup where we recognize that expense, but that we do need to increase that line item so we're not over at the end of the fiscal year for auditing purposes. Amendment number 11 is a $110,000 budget amendment to appropriate a tourism enhancement grant received. That's a $100,000 grant with a 10% local match. That was paid for by the Chamber of Commerce that we've received, so that's $110,000. We're just administering that grant through the county. So that's recognizing that grant and revenues. And then finally, we discussed about appropriating funds for the purchase of a new ambulance and power loading system in lieu of including that in next year's budget. So that's a $395,000 budget amendment that we can make come out of this year's budget to appropriate funds for the purchase of the new ambulance and power load system for White County EMS. That is all 12 of those amendments. Anybody have any questions?
Chad, I'd just like to clarify for the audience's main question when we're moving so much money around. This is already in the budget allocated, just different general ledger numbers, and we're just moving those to balance for the audit, correct?
Yes, that's the majority of them. Some of them are new funds, like those grant funds.
The grant fund
Yeah.
is separate from that, obviously, yes, sir. Thank you.
If there's no other questions, we could entertain a motion to approve all 12 unless you guys would like to pull one out and vote on it separately.
I make a motion to approve all 12 to send to commission.
We have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. Any discussion or additional questions for Mr. Markham? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, all 12 are approved. This is also general fund, however, this one separate budget amendment will stay within committee and doesn't have to go before the full commission. Mr. Markham?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is year-end adjustments to align with projected expenditures within the various major categories. So the difference here is it stays within committee if we're moving funds between line items in the same major category, say within the county buildings major category. As long as we're moving funds around in that same major category just between line items, it can stay within committee. If it goes outside of those major categories, if we're moving from one major category to another, then that's when it requires commission approval. So that's an example of those previous ones we did. This budget amendment in front of you is just reallocating funds within each major category. Office, for example, like your Register of Deeds office, just moving some funds around there. They need a piece of equipment, so we're taking some of their part-time funding that they did not use and reallocating that for a piece of equipment usage there. Dues and memberships, we're taking some funds from postal charges and codes compliance and reallocating that to dues and memberships to cover some projected expenditures there before the end of the fiscal year. There's no new money in this budget amendment. It's more of a cleanup here at fiscal year end.
I'll make a motion to approve the various year-end adjustments on the stay within committee.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Amendments are approved. We move to the solid waste fund. This is one amendment that will stay here within committee. Mr. Markham.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the Solid Waste Sanitation Fund. This is reallocating $20,000 from disposal fees to other contracted services. This is really cleaning up an issue when we set up that fund last month to the 116 governmental fund last month. It's really fixing a clerical issue that I made, a typographical error, and so we're just moving those funds within that major category.
We've heard the explanation. I'd entertain a motion to
I make a
approve.
motion.
I'll
Have a
second.
motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Amendment is approved. We have two from the highway fund. This is one, the first goes to the full commission, the second stays within committee. Mr. Markin, would you hit that first one that goes to full commission for us?
Yes, sir. So this is this is appropriating funds for maintenance and repair services for the repair of a tractor, or tractors, that been working on for some time, finally have lined up for, to get them fixed appropriately. And so this is appropriating funds for that repairs, those repairs.
All right, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion.
A
Second.
motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Amendment is approved. Also within the highway fund, this will stay within the committee. Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a $2,900 budget amendment, moving $1,400 within the administration major category and $1,500 within the highway and bridge maintenance major category. Again, just reallocation within those major categories at year end for, to meet projected expenditures in those line items.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other conversation? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Is approved. General purpose school fund is next. We have 4 to go to the full commission. Same here, Mr. Markin, if you want to hit all 4 of those, then we'll get them all at the end.
Yes, sir. So on all of these general purpose school fund amendments, those will be before the school board on Thursday night, and so I'd ask that you make any of those contingent on school board approval. The first budget amendment is a regular capital outlay budget amendment. It's $1,980,000. This is appropriating funds for the construction of an addition at Dole Elementary School. Amendment number 2 is $181,424. This is appropriating funds for HVAC improvements at the CTE building on the White County High School campus. This is coming from restricted funds that we've been holding since that the state provided when those when that school or when that building was turned over to the county from the state. So that's where those funds will come out of. Amendment number 3 is, Amendment number 3 and 4 are pretty much kind of the same. We just split them up because one of them deals mainly in salaries, but the first one is reallocating salaries from within the fund to meet projected expenditures. So we're moving some, we had to use more certified subs and non-certified substitute teachers during the year than we had projected, so we're taking some of the funds that we had budgeted in the teacher category and moving it to those certified subs, non-certified subs, and other salaries and wages there for fiscal year end. And then also on the last one, we are reallocating funds to better align with projected expenditures. No new money here, just moving it around within the fund to meet expenses at fiscal year end.
Thank you, Mr. Markham. Number 1, the Doyle expansion, is that the full project? Is that
Yes,
every-
yes, sir. Yeah, that's the construction and the architectural fees.
In that, we're not having to create a bond for that. The school system is funding that $2 million directly out of their general fund. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Make
Any
a
other
motion
questions?
to approve
Have a motion.
pending school board approval.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any other questions for Chad? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those are approved, and we have 3 from that same fund that will stay right here within committee. Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first one is a reallocation of the summer learning camp grant funds that was approved last month. So this is reallocating funds from $48,680 and is from instructional supplies and materials, reallocating some of that to teacher salaries, the educational assistant salaries and benefits, and then also regular instruction equipment. This is all that summer learning camp grant fund that we receive to run summer school during the summer months. Amendment number 2 is early childhood education program. This is reallocating funds within that major category, $5,194.94 from medical insurance that was not used, and reallocating that to regular instruction equipment to purchase playground equipment for the Bondycroft Elementary Pre-K playground. And then finally, $22,721.10 reallocated from custodial personnel to building and contents insurance to cover actual insurance expenses for our building and contents insurance for the fiscal year.
All right, we open the floor for a motion to approve those 3 that will stay here within committee.
Make a motion.
Have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Those carry as well. And lastly, for fiscal year '25, 1 amendment to the central cafeteria fund that will go to the full commission. Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This one will also be before the school board on Thursday night. So this is a budget amendment to reallocate funds within the central cafeteria fund to cover costs associated with temporary or substitute personnel, maintenance and repair of equipment, and also mainly food supplies during the fiscal year.
Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
A motion
Second.
and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Amendment carries. And now, Mr. Markham, we move to fiscal year 2026. Would you, same here, if you just want to hit all 5 of those school federal projects.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just a reminder, this is fiscal year 2026 budget, so this is next fiscal year budgets, but this is the School Federal Projects Fund, and if you recall, the School Federal Projects Funds accounts for federal grant funds passed through the State of Tennessee Department of Education to White County. These will go before the school board on Thursday night, and by resolution, if they're approved by this committee, by the school board, and by the Tennessee Department of Education, they are approved. So they don't go to the full county commission for approval since they're grant funds. First one is Title I. This is in Subfund 102. These 5 projects that you see here are our consistent federal program projects that we have. Every now and then we'll have other ones that float in and out from year to year, but these are pretty much guaranteed from year to year. So Title I is $1,085,013.34. About half of that, or a little over half of it, goes to teacher salaries and educational assistance, so we're able to pay for certain positions out of these grant funds and their associated benefits, and that's the majority of what those grant funds are used for, is for salaries and benefits for eligible Title I teachers. The second one in your packet is Subfund 201. This is Title II, Part A. It's a $151,400 amendment. So this helps pay for portion of the instructional coaches and associated benefits, employment benefits there, and then also for non-certified substitute teachers and the associated benefits as well with that. Number 3 is Title IV. This is Subfund 411. This is $78,425.25. Majority of that is used also for salaries and wages that we receive to help supplement the general purpose school fund program, and also for in-service and staff development. This Title IV is used for that. Subfund 901 is IDA Part B. So this is our primary special education funding that's received from the federal government. It doesn't cover the entire special education program. There's local funding in that as well that helps supplement that program, but we do receive funds from the federal government for that. And this year, the grant is in the total of $1,064,693. Again, the majority of your salary, or the majority of your program here is tied up in salaries and wages for those teachers and educational assistants, speech pathology, psychological personnel, other salaries and wages, and then the associated benefits. We do have a little bit of special education equipment and instructional supplies and materials that are funded out of this too, but the majority is wages and benefits. See, that's continued on the second page there. It also pays for special education program transportation, so school bus drivers for a special education program as well. And then finally is Subfund 912. This is the IDA preschool grant. So this is our special education preschool grant. This helps pay for the salary of an educational assistant and associated benefits, and also a little bit of supplies and materials, but it's a $28,434 special education preschool grant. And all these will be before the school board on Thursday night. So if your desire is to make a motion on these, please do so contingent on school board approval.
Okay, you've heard the explanation. I entertain a motion to approve all five unless you want to pull one out, contingent upon school board approval.
Make a motion.
Got a motion
Second.
and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, amendments are approved. Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Yeah, thank you.
Move on now to old business. Commissioner Hutchings, I know you had some new information on the storage for the circuit court clerk. You want to
Yeah.
give us a brief rundown on that?
So we had allocated $15,000 this year already for temporary storage for rental, to rent a building for the clerk's office. And she has not utilized those funds yet. I've run across a building in Murfreesboro. It's a mobile home, a double wide, that's specifically made for storage, classroom kind of thing. It has heating and air conditioning, which meets the requirements for our storage. The only thing it doesn't have, I think, is fire suppression. Other than that, it meets our criteria. I have a quote for $20,000 to purchase for delivery and setup of said building. So it'd be $5,000 additional funding above what we'd fund for rental, but it's ours, and it would be on site instead of having to rent.
And we never spent that 15,000, so.
We have not spent the
We're just
$15,000.
allocating 5 more.
We'll be allocating that.
What's the square footage?
It is a 24
About 36.
by 36. And I did I found it on Facebook. I sent the link to Beverly, and she approved, and she thought that would work for her needs.
Any questions for Derek or Chad on that?
I will just say, before we could move forward with the actual purchase, we would need to get 2 quotes for similar type buildings, since that's under a $25,000 mark.
Are they holding it for us, or have
He-
you communicated with them?
I communicated with him. He sent this letter, and I told him that we would have to go through the approval process. He said that he had 3 or 4 of those buildings on site, that all of them are the same, that he didn't see a problem if we needed a month or so to get stuff together to appropriate.
I make a motion to move forward with the, do we need to? Make a motion to approve an extra $5,000 and to move forward with the purchase process.
I'll second.
Motion and a second on the floor. Any other discussion?
I think that's a good answer. That's a good job finding that.
Probably the only question is where we're gonna put it at. I assume we would put it by the sheriff's annex, somewhere there on site at the, close to the Justice Center for her. I know that the previous discussion we had was having it somewhere by the annex.
Excuse me,
You think
can I
it's-
say something? It's supposed to be 1,500, it's not 15,000. We allocated
Is that-
1,500.
Was it 1,500 that we'd allocated, Chad? Not 15,000?
Yeah, that's probably correct.
Okay. I was staying correct, I thought it was 1,500.
15,000.
Yeah. Or it was, I thought it was 15,000, not 1,500. So,
Out of all these numbers, you went zero off, I guess they're not too bad. Thank you, Tommy.
Well,
Was the plan for that to be continuous? I mean,
The
we
rent-
we only allocated 1,500.
we only allocated 1,500
For three,
for 3 months, which would get us through through the end of the budget cycle. And I was off on my numbers, I apologize, but it was to get us through the end of fiscal year to allocate for New Year. We had talked about doing something for her long-term at the expansion of the Justice Center, but who knows when that'll be.
so the motion on the floor is to add an additional 5,000. So we probably need to entertain an amendment to that one, or have that particular motion wouldn't necessarily apply.
Can we purchase this in this year's budget somehow? I mean,
Yeah, we can, we'll just, it'll be a budget amendment, so just based on, that's what I was gonna do with the extra 5, is just create a budget amendment based on that.
so
So it'd just be an additional,
18,500 in the budget
Yeah.
instead of the 5,000.
I would like to amend my motion to add the appropriate funds to the 1,500 to purchase the building and move forward with the, or well, I guess just the amendment would be to appropriate 18,500? Okay.
And I'll second.
Okay, we vote on the amended resolution, the amendment to the resolution first. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Amendment is approved. So now we vote on the amended resolution, and this will allocate essentially an extra $18,500 to equal $20,000 to purchase the building for the circuit court clerk. Is that worded correctly, Chad? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that is approved. Thank you, Commissioner Hutchins.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is new business. Commissioner Hutchins, I know we talked some about having the commissioners that are here, and I think we've got a few. This could be a good opportunity for them to fine tune or ask any questions before Monday night's full court meeting when we'll vote on the budget. We just need to figure out how we want to lead that conversation. Are you guys okay with?
Well, we passed it, so it's their, if they don't understand what we passed, then it's their time to ask questions to understand if maybe they do. We've spent a lot of time on this.
Any questions from the commissioners that are present?
No, they've got their mind, they've got their heart set, and we've got our heart set, so.
Any old business other than that item there? Okay, we move on to public comment.
Mr.
Is anybody that would like
Chairman,
to
if I'm-
address the budget committee? I'm sorry.
no, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to one thing that come to mind that I want to tell you that would be a little bit different from what we typically do through the budget process as far as approval goes, with this being the reappraisal year and the certified tax rate not being available yet. So we will, the budget always consists of 3 resolutions. The first resolution is the the tax levy resolution. The second resolution is the appropriations resolution, and the third resolution is the nonprofit resolution. So the thought process in that order is that you appropriate, or you set the tax levy, so that gives you the funds that you then appropriate through these appropriate out in expenditures for the second resolution. And then the third resolution is essentially a supplement to that appropriations resolution, just specifically stating certain nonprofit organizations that are included in that second resolution. Because this year we're not able to set the official tax levy until that certified tax rate is received, the State Comptroller's Office has provided guidance that we're not to address or state a tax rate in that tax levy resolution. It's essentially not going to be a tax levy resolution. We're going to have a revenue resolution this month. And so what we'll do is we'll have 3 resolutions still, but that first resolution will be a revenue resolution that states how much revenue is required to fund the appropriations resolution, which is the second resolution. So the second and third resolution will be exactly the same as they always are. The first resolution will be a revenue resolution. What will happen is once we receive the certified rate in the next county commission meeting, we will then set the official tax levy resolution and based on the revenue that was adopted to fund the budget. So that resolution that we get, or that we pass whenever we get the tax levy, will essentially be a byproduct of the resolution that we pass for the revenue resolution this month. So that's just going to be a little bit different. Wanted that to bring that to your attention so that whenever that does come out, it will look different this year. But it's essentially the same. Will just be a different process. Does anybody have any questions on that?
The certified tax rate will for sure be certified and to us by the July.
We
correct?
do anticipate having that by the July meeting. So if the county commission adopts the revenue resolution, let's say the revenue resolution says that we're going to have $100 in revenue for the fiscal year, and we adopt that resolution in June, then in the July resolution, we will set the tax rate based on that $100 of revenue that we've voted on in the revenue resolution in the July meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Markham. Is that good? The committee good on that point there? Okay, we'll move to public comment. If there's anybody that would like to address the committee over budget relevant items, you can come forward now. If you wouldn't mind, state your name and your address, and we'll have 3 minutes.
Okay. Dana Ellis, 301 Cooper Street. Just like to have a little clarification. I know in the budget, there's maintenance fees charged to the very different departments. In like 25, 26, there's roughly about $406,000 worth of maintenance fees for the various departments. What are those maintenance fees? What purpose are they, and who's paid those fees?
Chad, I'm assuming she's referring to maintenance like on.
I'm assuming that you're discussing what we talked about on the phone on Saturday, is that the maintenance agreements?
But that doesn't hardly, you said you thought that went to updates of software.
So it's our contract for software coverage, and depends on the department as to exactly which contract that is. So in the accounting and finance department, that's our local government software that we pay yearly to operate that software.
Okay.
Do you have a specific
Well,
department?
well, I've got a list of all the various different departments of what it was, and there's a couple of them that never paid. Or the prior year in 24-25 fiscal, they don't show that they even paid it in that year, but they're paying it this year. So would that be due to some kind of new?
Can you tell me which department that is?
Like Ag and Natural Resources, and Solid Waste, Public Health.
So the Agriculture and Natural Resources, that's an agreement that we have with the University of Tennessee, and they forwent that this past fiscal year just as an assistance to the county. But that is something that's required contractually that we have in our budget for them. The other one was, what was the second one there, Dana?
Well, the other one was actually had to do with the solid waste public health section. Shows there was $1,200, but I don't think there was one time, yes, I overlooked it.
Oh, that's because we changed funds. So previous fiscal year, that was in 207, that was the enterprise fund for the landfill, and we've gone to a governmental fund, 116 fund, and so that's for the software for the solid waste department.
Okay. And then in your general purpose and school fund, under regular instruction program line item 189, it has other salaries, and not for the fiscal year 24-25 it shows zero, but for 25-26 it's $726,500. What's the?
This is the 71-100 major category, regular instruction program, yeah. So in the governor's voucher bill that was passed by the General Assembly, there was a $2,000 per teacher, certain teacher that met certain criteria. It didn't apply to all teachers, unlike some of the legislators led people to believe, but nonetheless, that is funds from the state of Tennessee that will be paid to the county, that's paid out as a bonus to teachers because of that legislation that passed for the school voucher program.
Okay. Now,
We had, I can't remember how many teachers we had that qualified, but
okay. Under the libraries, line item 129, shows the librarians was 86,508 for this fiscal year. Next year it's 136,240, which is almost a $50,000 increase. Is that salaries?
let me pull
Line
that.
item 129. And then there's a,
If you give me just a second to
Sure.
get to there.
sure.
You said the library.
It's 56,500 is under that, and then line item.
Oh, okay, you're back in the
129.
you're back in the general fund. Sorry, I was. Okay. And that is,
Line 129.
yeah, so we had historically paid that out of the 56,900 major category, which is on this next page, and that's getting moved up to the 56,500 major category this, or in the fiscal year 24-25 budget. So it's an existing expense, it's just getting moved in a different major
Moved to a
category.
different category. What about line item 169 on that same deal, which is part-time personnel, and that increased $18,000, or is that salaries too, or from 54,072?
Yeah, so that's the proposed budget for 25-26 has that salary, has the salary adjustment for part-time personnel. We have 5 part-time librarians at the library, and that's for their salaries.
Okay, staying with the library, and I'm not trying to properate the library, but, you know, in fiscal year 24-25, we had expenses of $314,000 plus, and next year we've got $429,000 plus, which is $115,000 increased budget over the last fiscal year. Is that, I mean, I'm self-educating here, but that seems like awfully large.
We allocated some funding for repairs to their flooring. What was the funding on that repair and maintenance?
It was $30,000 for that.
Okay. Well, I just
I mean,
thought that.
that's not 100, but it's 30 of
Yeah, that's
that.
$115,000. That's a big budget increase, seems like, and not saying it's not worthwhile. I just think that's an awfully large, seems like increase from one fiscal year to another for the library. That's it, that's all. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, and I have that information that you asked me for, it's
I got to find all
downstairs.
that right, and I forgot to come
But
back.
I've got it if you want to get it afterwards.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Anyone else like to address the?
Yes, sir. Can I say something? My name's Paul Golden. I'd like to know something. I'm not very familiar with the courthouse. The employees in here that work for Mr. Markham, Sasha Lee, tax assessor, trustee, are they county employees? Paid by the county?
Yeah.
You would not believe the people in this county would like to see a lot of them positions eliminated. Is there any way possible we could do that to save a little less money instead of raising taxes so damn much? Or is that asking too much?
Do you have a specific,
Each one of them needs to be, one in each one, his office, Sasha Lee's, Junior Jones's, Miss Adcock's, they need to take one position out of there, and that'd save a lot of money. Or am I just dreaming? These people are paid, are they not, by the county?
that's correct.
The majority of the people in this county would like to see that happen before you go to raising a bunch of taxes. And I don't think that's asking too much. Come in here any day you want to, or get somebody that they don't know to walk through and see how many's doing anything, and how many's sitting there playing on their little computer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Hey guys, Crystal Templeton, Webb's Camp Road. I know I only have 3 minutes, but does that include you answering my question?
I tried my best to pause if we're giving you an answer or searching for an answer, so.
Okay, perfect,
Yeah.
thank you. So, I just need some clarification. Last week you guys were talking about adding an assistant for the county executive's office, but when I looked, that was going to be split, I guess, between finance and executive. But when I'm looking at the budget, it looks like there is a bit jump in salaries in both departments. So is that one person or two?
Which, do you have the line item that you're looking at?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Which page are you?
Well, they're not, the pages aren't. Oh, Here we go.
The line item for the county executive would be 51300. Assistance is 103. And then finance is 5,200. Line 103.
Chad, for the 5,200, 103, is that just increases in, that's just increases in salary, correct?
Yeah, so the increase between budget year 25 and 26 in 52,100, 103 is 10,000, or is $9,000.
And how many assistants is that
There's 4.
in your,
There's not an additional employee in there.
okay, so there's 4, but the one for the county executive's office would also be helping you?
No, that's in the 51,300 category.
So they wouldn't be in your office assistant at all, it would specifically be for the county executive's office?
They might assist in some things. We work pretty closely together in doing things, but it would be budgeted in the 51,300 category, which is the county executives.
Okay, and then the codes department, that's 51,750. Are we adding assistants in there as well?
There was an assistant codes enforcement officer added during the fiscal year. So the budget that you see there in the 25 budget is the original budget. It's not the budget as amended. So as amended, there are 3 employees in that department currently.
Okay. Can you tell me what's left that's not already been allocated or projected in this current year's budget? A round figure?
I'm not sure exactly what you're asking for.
So you guys still have money in this year's budget, this current year's budget, that we can move around. That's what we just did a few minutes ago. I'm just wondering how much is left that we haven't spent that we could move towards next year. And here's why. Because if you raise the taxes, let's just, 157 passes, you can essentially move that within that department. You're telling the community that you're giving it for salaries, but you could essentially just give a 2% versus a 15% and then use that other 13% somewhere else. Am I understanding that correctly? I'm just asking questions. I'm not accusing or anything, guys. I'm trying to learn.
The only problem I see with that would be if you take money from this year's budget, apply it to next year's budget, then the following year, you may not have that money left over in that year's budget to move it to the next year.
I think what
You
she's
have
asking
to
is
approve.
the revenue that we brought in for this year, if we spent all of that revenue? And if not, how much is left? Is it in the?
That's what I'm looking for.
She's
And I'm not
asking
talking
if we
about-
can move it to next
Next
year's
year's.
budget, which, I mean, the money will be there, but you can't really use that as a budget.
But you can't necessarily use it for salaries, but you can use it for some of the purchases that you're asking for in next year's budget.
Do you have that number?
Well, I mean, we did do the, what we just did, an ambulance out of, that was for next year, that we took out of this year's budget.
I was just wondering
Yeah.
how much was left.
It's hard, I know.
Guesstimate?
It's a guesstimation.
Yeah.
Because you don't really know, they're working on audit and stuff right now to close out the books, and Chad's in his office is working on closing that stuff out now.
Yeah.
Normally, on an average, at the end of the year, we usually run somewhere between 300 to 500,000.
That could purchase a couple ambulances and a couple of police cars. Well,
Actually, one ambulance now, but yeah.
And, yeah.
And historically, in the past, we've tried to, if we had somebody left over, we've tried to finance some one-time expenditures like cars, or stuff that's not reoccurring, cars and ambulances and such as that. We normally try to do that at the end of the year when we see we have some money left over.
Okay. Data processing services, nearly 100 grand. Mr. Markham, in your office, can you explain what that is?
That's primarily our EMS billing services that are run through that.
I'm sorry, your EMS billing?
EMS billing services, yes, ma'am.
Is that contracted out, or is that what you guys are doing?
That was contracted out. We pay a percentage of the revenue collected.
Okay. There are, sorry guys, my notes kind of, when I walked away, I messed my notes up. There's one more, well, actually, there's a lot of more questions. Not to use proper English, there's a lot more questions, but there's one, if I can find it here real quick. We have a lot of other, and I quote, other on the budget. There's a lot of contracts and other listed. Where can I get a copy of what that means? Like, I feel like we need a little more transparency in there. For example, there's other equipment listed for $90,000. I believe that was under the fire department. I have to go back and look. But I counted over $1 million in other contracts out for just contracts in various departments. It's over $1 million. Contracts to public agencies and private agencies. Where can I get a list of that to see where that million is going?
I'd be glad to sit down with you and provide you some information. So we use a chart of accounts that is mandated by the state of Tennessee for all county governments. It's called the Uniform Chart of Accounts, and that's why whenever you look at that tag Tennessee that's on the state comptroller's website, they can you can see everybody's using the same account numbers. So we don't have the ability to go in and create our own accounts, account numbers or anything. So we have to use we try to use what fits the most relevant. And there are a lot of those others in that account code because they set it up so it can be used across the state for all the counties. But I'll be glad to provide you details if you can give me specifics of exactly what you're looking at there.
I'll call you tomorrow and schedule an appointment then. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I think y'all know me, I'm Becky Dolan, Commissioner of District 3. For months and months, I asked on building codes about Hunter. Why couldn't Hunter take the test and become the codes guy? Why did we have to hire somebody else? And I was told, well, Hunter needs to answer the phone. Well, now I'm being told by none of y'all, but somebody else, that's exactly what's happening. Hunter's taking the position, and that we're hiring a secretary for Hunter's spot. So I'm a little bit flabbergasted by that you guys didn't feel that you could tell me after I asked and asked and asked. I was never against a position like I was accused of being, but I just wanted clarity, and when I asked for the clarity, I couldn't get it. So, does anybody want to elaborate on that?
I guess I should start on that. I didn't know either until it happened. I was under the impression that he told me that he wanted to stay in the secretarial position, and we was going to look for another building code. Somewhere he must have changed his mind. I probably should have reported that to you after I probably was the pay, I would imagine. But when that happened, I guess I should have told you. It just didn't enter my mind. But that was the original plan, was he was going to stay in the office and hire one. And then somewhere along the line, he changed his mind.
Okay.
It's not much of an answer, but that's the best I've got.
My name is Connie Davis, and I've got a question or a comment along that line. Can we not divide the county up to where we only need two, and we can route the phone calls through their cell phones? We won't need the office personnel. Or we can make it to where they're in the office at one day a week, one of them is. Okay, I got another question. I want to go on, you just can answer when I get done. Okay, where do we stand on the building that we're building up at the county garage for removing Jackson Kayak back up there? How far are we along from that building to get done?
It's in the design phase.
Okay.
With the architect.
How much are we paying Jackson Kayak per month to rent that building?
$3,000.
Okay. Where do we stand on the health department? Who won the bid?
I can't remember the name of the company. Same. Same construction.
Same, okay.
They're out of Manchester, I believe.
I think so.
Okay, there's another thing that we're spending a lot of money on is these vehicles. We need to be trying to find state vehicles, state funds, all this stuff, instead of buying these locally and paying $80-something thousand for one vehicle. That's ridiculous.
What vehicles are you talking?
To police departments.
Those are government all of the bids are for government contract. Those are government contracts.
So, okay. Let's see if I got anything else. So we're paying $3,000 a month for Jackson Kayak. Okay. A lot of this expense that we've got on maintenance for our vehicles and stuff for these cars, that we're paying dealerships that the county actually could get done through Jerry's office or Jerry's department. Is there not ways that we can also use these prisoners? I firmly believe in giving these prisoners something to do. Give them a trade, learn them how to do something, says that on the
I can't say I disagree. That's not in my realm of being in control over, so actually, it's in, and nobody hears, we can't answer that.
There should be some ways we can use those and utilize them because it's costing us a lot of money for.
There's some talented people in jail right now that can do some things, I agree.
Thank you, guys.
Would we not have an issue with, well, the sheriff have to approve it first and he'd have to oversee it, but then would we not have issues with warranties or anything like that, having inmates working on our vehicles? I don't know, Doug, can you enlighten us anything on having inmates working on our vehicles?
Well, I don't know what the liabilities of it.
That was my initial thought, is what's a liability?
They could be supervised. They're just actually doing the work.
Then you're gonna have two people doing one person's job.
Or if they get hurt while they're working, then workman's
Yeah,
comp.
that's true. Heaven forbid they get hurt doing something.
Or they could sabotage the vehicle, that's.
That was where I went.
Yeah.
We just did a
Break line.
$90,000 budget amendment for healthcare for inmates.
Can I ask a follow-up question on the state bidded vehicles?
Sure.
I think I heard the 87,000 last week for a vehicle, is that correct?
That is including all lights, sirens, bells and whistles and.
Can you tell me who you guys were looking at on that? Because I know for a fact that that's probably a Ford Explorer, I'm assuming. Because there was a 2024 Ford F-250 completely decked out with K-9 unit, lights, sirens, and everything for $62,000 for another city less than 4 months ago from another Ford company within Tennessee, but they're not. They're in West Tennessee. So it's a drive, but and that was on a state bid too. So that's why I'm just trying to follow up.
The quote that the sheriff's department provided us was from Alan J's Fleet Sales, was the quotes that we looked at.
Okay.
I mean, I'll be happy to give this to you, let you look at it.
No, that's fine. I was just wondering who he was using. I'll be more than happy to make an appointment with the sheriff's page and give him some information if we can help him with his budget as well.
Here's an F-150 for $51,890 was the F-150. Dodge Durango. I mean, I'll be happy to provide this to you. This is a copy that they give us. Here's a Dodge Durango 43,940. That's the sticker price, and then, Chad, we allocate a certain amount per vehicle for the upgrades or the, how much is the allocation for that, do you know? The Ford Police Interceptor was $49,515.
But that's before it's built.
That's correct, that's just the vehicle.
Right.
And what vehicle were you referencing? You said you found a certain something.
F-150.
You said 250?
It was an F-250. I'm pretty sure it may have been a 150. It was completely everything that it needed. And actually, it had the K-9 stuff, which is quite expensive.
I don't know.
I was just wondering.
I don't know why our deputies need a 250 to patrol me, and but
The point was,
It's
that's a
cheaper.
$15,000.
I personally, if you would send that to me, I'd personally like to see it. I can't pick the sheriff's cars out, but I'm sure.
Yeah, well, and like I said, if he needs help, I'll be more than happy to help him with the procurement.
Well, that was one of the questions we asked the sheriff, was, did he really need trucks? And the response we got was some of the places they go with the roads, that they need trucks.
I drive
So,
White
I
County
don't know.
every day, and I go in a lot of sketchy
Well,
places, and I
There
have to have a
there
four-wheel
was
drive
one deputy in here that said that he bottoms out turning into driveways
in a patrol car.
in a patrol car. Sounds to me like he's turning in a little too fast.
No, sir, I have to agree with him, because I have a job where.
We don't have a problem with
Yeah,
the,
so,
I don't see them needing a pickup at all, but
yeah. And then also.
we can't control what he wants.
I just want to make sure that he's getting the best bang for his buck, so that's why I was asking where we were looking at. And then also on the EMS, I believe someone said that there was only two places that will do the remounts.
And only one give us a bid.
Okay, so there are other ones there are other ones around that I know that other agencies are using that are on state bid. It's not just two. So who would I need to provide that list to? Because I retrieved that.
Those are, what's the word? We have to send those out for proposals, requests for proposals, and if they do not answer the request for proposal, then we can't.
But are we only looking in the state of Tennessee for that? Because I know there's a place in Arkansas that's very reasonable, that's some neighboring counties use.
So you're talking about remounts? So we have Braun vehicles, and so it has to be somebody that's a certified Braun remounter to continue with the lifetime warranty on that. So that was one of our criteria, but we do submit that out to multiple different organizations to provide us proposals on. We follow all the state guidelines and rules on that. And so I'd be happy to provide you any additional information on that as well.
Okay. I really look forward to sitting down with you because I come, watch other county governments and I see what they're doing and I don't understand why we can't follow suit on some things. And that may be going back to the charter that was discussed, the way our charter is. So, thank you.
Follow-up question, if I may please, too. On a month-to-month basis, does the budget committee receive a year-to-date expenditure like a balance sheet and P&L statement so that you can see how much money has actually been spent out of each category? And that gets back to where the young lady was asking about how much money was left over at the end of the year. Like right now, you can't do the end of June because you had to close out June, and that's the fiscal year ending. But you should have something that shows you year-to-date up through May 31, how much your expenditures and revenue are in each one of those categories.
So there's a report provided to the county commission, and it's in the county commission minutes under the consent agenda that shows there's a report each month. So the report from May was for April, so it's July through April, and that's available on the county's
So you don't-
website.
But that's just for, is that just for like the quarter? You don't have something for the?
That's for the fiscal year, so it'd run July through April, the one that was in the May commission
And
minutes.
so where is that available?
On the county website under the county commission minutes.
The actual report is? Or
Yes, it's part of the county record.
Okay, thanks.
I got one more question. How much is in our debt services? Can we get that number?
There's roughly about $7 million in debt service right now.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Ed West. I live at 125 South Main Street here in Sparta. Just out of curiosity, how much of an increase are you experiencing relative to sales tax?
Chad, you want to take a crack at that?
So since 2021, we've seen a pretty significant increase in sales tax, Mr. West. This past year, it has pretty much flatlined the current fiscal year versus our previous fiscal year. If you look at December sales, which of course are historically our highest percentage of collections for Christmas sales, December of '24 was lower than December of '23. So we're starting to see a plateau in our sales tax increases there.
Like, all I know is when I travel around White County, you look at Walmart, there's twice as many people in Walmart as there was 5 years ago. You go to restaurants, there's more people in restaurants, and they're all sales taxing. It just seems to me that there should be enough increase in sales tax that you're not having to expend new money by taxing the citizens of Tennessee. Which brings me to the next question is, you all are doing the reassessment of the homes. And I understand that, do it every 5 years, have no problem with that. But Tennessee's never been a rich state. And if you look at Social Security, which a lot of people in Tennessee are on, we got a 2% increase last year, cost of living increase, 2%. And you're looking to increase a lot of things a lot more than that. Did you ever consider that maybe you're chasing Tennesseans out of Tennessee because the people from California, New Jersey, New York are moving in and they're spending exorbitant amounts of money for a house that 5 or 6 years ago was selling for $80,000 or $100,000. Now it's selling for $300,000 or $400,000. It would seem like you could charge an impact fee or something else to cushion the impact on the people that have lived here their whole life, have endured the life atmosphere that Tennessee offers and everybody enjoys, but they're not making much money. And now that we're being replaced with out-of-staters, it just doesn't seem fair to me.
I might address a little bit of that. I agree with what you're saying about pricing our people that's lived here forever out. We've had this discussion numerous times. It's a shame. I don't know how you fix it. I don't know how you keep people out, keep them from coming.
Well, I'll tell you, you don't keep them out. You charge them an impact fee.
Okay, well, I was going to get on that next. The impact fee probably comes up at least every other meeting. It's against the law. We cannot charge impact fees.
That's a Tennessee law.
That's Tennessee law.
Other states have it.
Yeah, other states have it. There are certain criteria. If you have 40% increase in population over a 1 year window, or if you have like a 50 or 60% increase in, I'm off on that just a little bit, over the 10-year census reading, then you can enact an impact fee. But we have not met any of the criteria to do that. Now, we did increase building permit fees some to try to kind of do that. But we just can't do an impact fee. We all agree, we've talked about it, we think that's something that would be great for us because it impacts our infrastructure, our water, our electric, our roads, our needs on our emergency services. And then to address the sales tax, you referenced Walmart. Sales tax stays within the entity in which it's collected. So everybody that's shopping inside the city of Sparta, the local sales tax for there goes to Sparta.
But Walmart's in White County.
But it's inside the city limits.
It's in the city limits?
Yeah. So
So is the new Tractor Supply that opened up a year or so ago?
Yeah. Now, what happens with local sales tax, half that revenue by law does go to the school system. And, well, half of what the certified tax rate is, and we can get off another wormhole about the sales tax that we voted on. That would have brought more money into us if that would have passed. But right now, the city gets to keep it. We don't get anything. Only thing we get a sales tax off of is your Dollar General stores that are out in the county, your convenience stores that are out in the county, There's a couple of restaurants out in the county. But as far as sales tax revenue for the county, not the city thrives on it. But for the county, sales tax revenue is not a big revenue producer for us. It doesn't bring in that much money right now.
What's the attendance of the school system, is that down or up?
I think that it is down.
Yeah, that's what I understand, it's down.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
Which would mean you'd be saving money on salaries and everything else.
The school system budget, that gets very complicated for us. When you go in and you look at that, from what we do, we appropriate X amount of dollars to the school system. And by law, we have to appropriate that same amount we can never decrease it. We don't have to increase it, but we can never decrease it. So when it comes to, unless the school system comes to us and says, we need more money from the county, unless they come and specifically ask that, there's really no need in us trying to work with their budget, because there's nothing we can do about it other than the amount of money we give them. And so they've not asked us for any more money in the last 2 or 3 years. So there's really there's not really much that we can do, because the school system has a school board that oversees the operation of the school. And if the school board doesn't come to us and say, we need more money from you, White County, there's really nothing we can do about their budget.
So they're out of control?
I wouldn't go as far as that. I don't know. They don't ask us for any more money, so we're not having to fight with them or anything.
So, and I would like to add to both questions that he touched on. The sales tax increase he was referring to, the city is at 2.75, the county's at 2.25. Well, the state's at 7, so it's 9.25 and 9.75, but then you take the 7% from the state that comes off the top, that leaves the county with 2.25 or 2.75. So the city's at 2.75, the county's at 2.25, so that half a penny spread is what he's referring to. The city keeps all of that, which is roughly $2 million a year. If the county's rate was at 2.75, they would have to give us half of those funds, about $800,000 to $1 million they would have to give us. But the county's rate is not at that. The last 3 years, we've had it on the referendum, the citizens have to vote that in. The county commission can't vote or implement that. It has to be voted on by the citizens. So for 3 years in a row, we've not raised property taxes, and we've tried to do that to not have to raise property taxes, and the citizens voted it down. So that's why we don't have that. And then to answer your school question, if you will, why the attendance is down, why they shouldn't have less funds. So I asked the director of schools about that, and he said attendance is down across the whole county. It's not down in just Cassville, or it's not down in just Bon Air, right? So he's lost, I don't have a number, I don't want to, if he's lost 100 children, it's not like this classroom and this classroom is gone. It's one child in the first grade in Cassville, it's one child in the first grade in Central, or in Bon Air, whatever, or in high school, you see what I'm saying? So he has to hire teachers and has to have teachers for every class. And the attendance may fluctuate 1 or 2 children per class, but it's not like he can just cut a whole class out or a whole school system out. So that was the example that he gave me for attendance is down, but he can't cut teachers because they're all across the whole county.
I know across the country, you're getting a lot of schools closing for that reason. So you got 7 or 8 school districts, and it's 2 here and 2 there and 10 there, and they all add up.
And they closed Central View down. Chad, do you remember how long ago that was? 6 years. 5 or 6 years ago, there was a small community in Cassville. I don't know if you're familiar with that's at, or in Central View, but they closed it down and they reallocated those children between Cassville, Dole, and Woodland Park, I think. So that has happened in the last 6 years, 7 years.
Because you hear there's more and more people that are homeschooling. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's a direct reflection on the school district. and that parents don't want their kids to go to the school. But anyway, I leave you with the thought of, don't chase Tennesseans out of Tennessee. And this is what y'all are doing now. If the assessments goes up and you raise the rates up to go with the assessment, you're getting people that live here for 50 years, or for 200 years, and you're chasing them out. I know kids that are graduating, or graduated a couple, 3 years ago, they can't afford a house. And I hate to see what's happening to White County with people leaving. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Do I have time to?
Let's give an opportunity to anyone who hasn't addressed the budget committee first. No? Let's go one more round, come on up.
Okay.
We'll close it out with your final thought here.
I really appreciate you guys for that. Business tax and mixed drink tax revenues are projected to decline. Can someone explain that?
So we do a trend analysis of those over the past 8 years. Let's look at mixed drink. Actually, mixed drink was still budgeted at $3,000. So that's not changing between the fiscal years. The business tax, the business tax was going up $20,000. The bank excise tax was going down about $12,000 in the proposal. And that's again just those are taxes that are collected by the State Department of Revenue, and a portion of that is remitted to the counties. So it's just based on our collection history.
I'll make a note and go back and look at that, and you and I can discuss that a little more. Guys, I really do appreciate you taking the time to educate us on this, me specifically, and I guess whoever's watching. Some of these questions weren't just mine, they were other people's. They just don't feel comfortable asking them. Can you explain, I guess for educational purposes, debt services versus our actual debt and what we have as debt? Is debt services not something that's ours that we borrow against? I'm confused on that. And thank you.
So Fund 151 is General Debt Service Fund. And once we collect taxes or allocate anything to that fund, it's restricted for that fund. It's restricted for the payment of debt. So right now we have one bond issuance, and that's for the construction that we did for Finley Elementary School back in 2016. We issued that bond, and then those proceeds from the sale of that bond go for the construction, and then we pay that debt off out of that debt service fund over the next 20 years in that case. And so that is what we pay debt out of. It's not what we borrow against. So if we needed to get a loan from a bank, there's a competitive process that we go through to do that. But we would then use the funds of the debt service fund to pay those proceeds back, plus the principal and interest.
Okay. So we have $7 million in our debt services to pay back our debt. Do we have, how much debt do we have, I guess?
I think that the bond issuance is sitting at about $16 million in principal.
Okay. That's what, that makes it a little more clear for me. And I know I was not the only one who had that question about what the confusion was of debt services versus actual debt.
And Chad, to add to that, we have to maintain a certain amount of money in our debt services. It affects our bond rating. Shall we give a little insight for that?
Yeah, that's correct. So we're in a AA- bond rating, which is good for a county our size. And what that, you hear about the AAA rating of the federal government and how that's been downgraded and stuff like that. We're rated by the same credit rating agencies. And so it's pretty much just like your personal credit rating. If you have a higher credit rating, then you're more likely to get a more favorable interest rate from a lender, or somebody's willing to lend you money. So that's the same thing as your personal credit rating for the county is. So the better credit rating that we have, the better deal we get whenever we borrow funds.
Right, okay. Thank you. I really do appreciate you guys being patient with me.
Anyone else?
Did any of the
Okay.
commissioners have questions about how we're not voting on $1.57, that it's a dollar amount? Did
Chad, do you have, I know I can find it in here, but do you have that number that will be on the revenue resolution?
I don't, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I don't have that.
31, 531, 640. Does that sound correct?
I didn't.
Have you taken 157 and multiplied it by
So
97,363?
since we're doing.
Or did you find it in the
I
document?
did. Since we're doing the revenue, 531,640. So that will be the revenue we'll be voting on next Monday.
Yeah, for the general fund, it'll be, that
Just-
resolution
yes,
will be
sir.
for each fund, yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Now, how much you said it was?
21,500,000.
That's not just tax rate.
And that's general
That's
fund only.
estimated revenues overall.
Estimated
That's
revenue.
estimated total revenue. Do we have it broke down into what the property tax will be? Because it's not going to be nowhere near that, is it? It's going to be 14, 15.
Yeah, no, we can, and I'll be honest with you, this is something new that they're requiring us to do this year when we do that, so how we do that, we'll separate that out and show local taxes versus all the other taxes for each fund, probably. Yeah, I would imagine we'll do it similar to the appropriation resolution.
Yeah. But that's everything, that's.
Yes, that would be everything.
And commissioners, you okay with the revenue resolution, how it'll be presented?
So it's not, we're not voting on the one-to-one.
Right, so we're voting on a total revenue, and then we can retroactively do the math, and we'll know what the property tax will need to be levied to fund that specific budget.
But-
So is that, no.
Yeah, so it's just, but it's important that, that the votes are consistent. So you can't vote for the revenue resolution and then vote not for the property tax resolution the next month that funds that same amount of money, because at that point, if that resolution fails, then we have to go back and amend our budget to take out those revenues. So voting for the revenue resolution is the same as voting for the property tax resolution. It'll just have to be a second vote in July.
I understand, but there's,
Okay.
you ain't gonna understand. That's almost a trick. I mean, it's almost a trick. But that's just my personal opinion on that deal.
It's out of our control, Commissioner Brewington.
And I understand it right there, but it's like anything else, you just slide it on through.
When the revenue resolution comes up, just keep in mind you'll be voting on everything we've discussed and proposed, and the 157 still applies, that's just not how it'll be worded. That'd be an easy way to, does that work for the commission?
I would understand.
So, the next meeting will be full court. We will vote on the budget on next Monday, a week from tonight, at 5:30 will be public hearing, and then 6 o'clock is the full court meeting. And then this committee will meet again in this room on July 7th after the committee meetings adjourn.
So what would it be without extra school money, the director and the assistant, what would it be then?
Oh, I'm not, if you took away,
What is the, for the,
So, I think to answer Commissioner Daniels' question, at $1.57, 36 cents is going to the school fund, which is what has been funded. There's no change, no additional revenue to the school fund at 36 cents. So in the $1.57 proposal, we're not funding, we're not giving any extra pennies, any extra money to the school. What was your other question?
take out the EMA
So the EMA director is 50 or 60,000, that's a half penny.
and then the office assistant?
No, that's a penny. The EMA director is about 60 and the office is 40, so I mean, you're talking right at, give or take, a penny. $100,000. So $21,531,000 will be $21,530,000 in round numbers, if that was the question.
Is there any possible way we can go back to every department and ask them to cut a certain percentage out of all departments? Let them do their own cut. That way, it's not going to be as,
Well, we have, so we were at $1.70. We were at probably $2 at initial ask. I don't have a number on that, I don't remember, but we were pretty high. We'll say it's $2, and $2 went to $1.70. I'm sorry?
You use a number that's 3 million.
Yeah, 3 million. So then we went to $1.70, and then now $1.70 went to $1.57, and me personally, I asked department heads, and they come back from $1.70 to, with their cuts to get to $1.57. Asking them that now is, if $1.57 passes, then it passes. If it don't, then that's when we gotta go back, and we do have to go to the department heads and say, what can you live with, what can you live without, or we can say you're getting what you're getting at $1.21 and deal with it, or whatever that's gonna look like, whatever it'll be. But if $1.57 does not pass, then obviously the next step would be to go to the department heads and say, what can you do without?
right.
And it should be noted, from 170 to 156 is an additional roughly 1.3 million that you chop.
Yeah, it's $100,000.
You know, instead of pennies breaking down to, that's a
Yeah.
1.3 million that y'all cut. And that is notable.
Is it possible that instead of giving all this average 15% increase in salaries, you've injected a longevity pay, which helps to keep some of those personnel, that's also going to change from year to year and go up as people are retained? Have we, and I entertain the idea of we not giving that 15%. You know, there's some of them with 30%, somebody maybe 3%, but entertain lowering that just a little bit with the idea of next year you would have probably more idea of the additional income too that you would be getting from the landfill possibly by the completion of that sale, which would be an ongoing revenue that would, you could look at maybe giving them, instead of doing this big bulk of 15% all at one whack, try to spread it out over a couple of years because you know you've got some income hopefully you're going to get from that landfill.
So we're voting on $1.57, and if it does not pass, then basically the only way we're going to make any dent in $1.57 versus $1.56 or $1.55, $100,000, like Commissioner Daniels asked, moving two positions is one penny, $100,000. Well, in the scheme of things, to the citizens going from $1.57 to $1.56, you're not going to see that. You're not going to see a change, honestly. The only way we're going to do that is through pay, because of the $3 million, of the $3-something million, well, $2,200,000, $2,300,000 is, of that is salaries. So the only way we're going to make a dent is reduce salaries. We can cut a position here, cut a position there. You can, move a few pennies, a few dollars here or there, but the only way the dent's going to be made is by salaries. So that is going to be the next, if $1.57 doesn't pass, and I think from the consensus from the commission, it's not going to. So that's where the cuts will have to be made. Yes.
Now, will the other commissioners be told this in explicitly before we vote? How it's being voted, since they weren't here tonight?
Well, that's what this meeting was for tonight,
I know that.
and for the commissioners to be here. I'll make an announcement before we vote. But that was what this meeting was for.
But it wasn't recorded from what I'm told.
We're on live feed, are we not, Chad?
Yes, this is live fed through YouTube.
Maybe they'll watch it.
You want to come forward?
Thank you. Just a couple of questions.
You spoke the other night, but could you give us,
Patrick Snyder, 3719 Wilton Road. Did I hear you guys say that there was a school, former school and property out at Centerville area?
Central View,
Central View? Does the county still own that?
the school board owns it.
School board owns it. That's it vacant right now?
That is to my knowledge.
Why? How many years has it been sitting there vacant? 6 years. Is there any plans to open it back up?
You'd have to speak to the school board about that.
School board, yeah.
I don't deal with the school board. Does anybody here deal with the school board? Or is that the school board's gonna keep that building and let it deteriorate? Because that's money to the county, to the school board, right? For the school system. It's sitting there decaying, rotting more likely. Guys are doing upkeep on it, spending money on that. Maybe somebody should talk to the school board about liquidating that asset and putting that money into, putting it to use. Can we do that? That's a question. Can we do that?
That's a school board question.
Well, once again, I'm not on the school board. I don't deal with those. Can anybody here do that?
We cannot.
So your hands are tied. School board's gonna keep that property, keep that building, and continue to do the maintenance on it, and watch the money go away. And I mean, this is a county asset, school board or not, right? That's money sitting there that we could use to alleviate higher property taxes. So food for thought, why didn't somebody start working on that one? Who knows what else the school board has that they're not telling us about, or nobody knows about, more money sitting idle, right? So something to think about, maybe somebody will do something about this, not a private citizen. Next thing, a 15% pay raise across the board. Never heard of that before in my life. You guys really need to reduce that. And I know everybody wants folks to get more money, but like the gal said, a little bit this year, a little bit next year, a little bit the year after that. You can't balance it, all in 1 year. The other thing is, of course, the county's tried 3 separate times, spent a lot of time and money on it. No county sales tax, okay? Now, the city of Sparta and the other small cities are getting more sales tax money. And what a question I have is, why can't the county work a deal with the city to get some of that tax money out of the city? Why not? What's the problem there? Is the city to say, no, we're not going to give you guys any of that money, even though, and why? Because we want it all for ourselves?
Basically.
So the folks that live in the county, that come into Sparta and the other cities, and spend their money, and their sales tax money is going to the city, and the city says, yeah, that's fine. For you folks that live in the county, we don't care about you. We're going to take all your tax money, and we're going to keep it right here in the city, so we can have more money for the city. Meanwhile, your property taxes are going up, and we're not even going to give 1 penny of that sales tax to the county, so they can help alleviate the increase in property taxes. Is that what that's what you guys are telling me? Really? And shame on those people in the city who will not help out.
If we could get our tax rate the same as the city's tax rate, we would get our share of that. But until
now, you say tax rate, you're talking about sales tax
our
rate?
sales tax rate is the same as the city's.
And that can't happen until the people vote on it.
Well, we tried it for 3 years.
And of course, the city will not make a deal with the county saying, hey, we just raise our sales tax X amount. More importantly, we just inked a contract with the county so that of that 5-cent increase, we're giving 2.5 to the county so they can make ends meet and not raise property taxes for all those people that come to the city and spend their money. Disappointment, that's all I've got, it's just disappointment. And a 1.57 increase, that's way, way too much, you guys. I mean, I know you want that, but it's way, way too much, okay? That means my property taxes are going up astronomically, as long as everybody else in the county. This is bad news for everybody. And I hate to be the bearer of, a lot of negativity here, but I'm just trying to paint the picture as it truly is. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion, second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.